say you wanna watch a drama. You say you wanna watch a comedy. Well, you can watch it with your mama, or you can watch it with your daddy.
You'll even sit and watch it with your middle schooler, so you can come and talk around a water cooler. We're watching all day and all night.
Couch potatoes unite.
Whoa, whoa.
Couch potatoes unite.
Whoa, whoa. Couch potatoes unite.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the podcast entitled Couch Potatoes Unite! Which is based on a blog of the same name. Because it's like the alive and the undead coexisting together. Things can change and evolve while still remaining the same in certain aspects. In fact, it's like our own zombie island. Right? My name is Kylie and I love TV. If you feel the same, keep listening and or checking out our website, couchpotatoesunite.wordpress.com, as you're bound to find some common ground or something you like. For at Couch Potatoes Unite, we're all about the wonders and the unique long-form storytelling of the small screen. CPU! Hopes you've been following releases of brand new episodes of the podcast on Wednesdays, as well as new blog entries on some Tuesdays, and as always, we have several more new episodes on the way. Because the panelists and I live lives behind our podcast, the episodes are published once per week. Subscribe to the blog or the podcast via iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, Google Play, and now on Spotify to stay on top of brand new episodes. Episodes already published discuss a variety of shows around the water cooler, including, but not limited to, Fuller House, Jane the Virgin, Supernatural, Orange is the New Black, Gotham, the Marvel shows on Netflix, Stranger Things, and the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. Plus, new episodes are in the works, including revisits for Game of Thrones, The Crown, American Horror Story, Grace and Frankie, The Good Place, Altered Carbon, Doctor Who, Schitt's Creek, Westworld, Riverdale. The DCTU series panel will catch up on the first two seasons of Black Lightning, and the Star Trek 50 Plus series will talk season 2 of The Next Generation. We'll be launching new panels covering Charmed, Outlander, the Breaking Bad universe, This Is Us, and the Orville. And because we look back at shows now past, we'll put out some musical stops for our Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. We'll revisit one of the all-time and most-watched classic sitcoms, MASH. We'll consider the moral implications and quick cancellation of Dollhouse, and we'll travel through time and experience all sorts of identities with Quantum Leap. By the way, did you know that CPU also from time to time goes live? We've been live from bunkers, comedy shows, Comic-Cons, and game stores. Plus, we're planning more live appearances and other cool stuff, including in these quarantine times. So make sure you like or follow us at our Facebook page, our Twitter at CPU Podcast, our Instagram at Couch Potatoes Unite, or subscribe to the website, our YouTube channel, our Apple iTunes channel, our Stitcher Radio channel, or find us on Google Podcasts and now on Spotify. In the meantime, if you don't hear a show in this podcast format, fellow panelists and I still write reviews, and we always seek new panelists. So if you have any interest in joining the discussion, say hello by finding us at any of those outlets I've mentioned. At the very least, stop by and leave us a thumbs up, comment, or review. We like feedback. Just don't go all nuclear on us, okay? We promise we'll feed your brains and take your anti-zombie feedback into consideration. Today we're around the water cooler for the final time to discuss the final season, that is season 5, of iZOMBIE, the procedural crime comedy drama with a zombie-rific twist based on characters appearing in and published by the DC Comics Vertigo imprint. Season 5 aired on the CW from May 2nd to August 1st, 2019, with a total of 13 episodes. We'll also be looking back at the series as a whole now that we have viewed the whole show and have discussed all previous seasons to see if iZOMBIE meets muster as another entry in the annals of the undead, or alternatively, if would-be viewers should really avoid this tale of drug-induced zombification with a darkly comic undercurrent. To remind the listener, iZOMBIE is an American television series developed by Rob Thomas and Diane Ruggiero Wright for the CW. It is a loose adaptation of the comic book series of the same name, created by Chris Roberson and Michael Allred, and published by DC Comics under Vertigo. Seattle medical resident Olivia, or Liv, Moore, played by Rose McIver, is turned into a zombie while attending a boat party. She abandons her career and breaks up with her fiancé Major, played by Robert Buckley, much to the disappointment and puzzlement of her family. She discovers that if she does not periodically satisfy her new appetite for brains, she starts turning into a stereotypical zombie, stupid and homicidal. Instead of feeding by killing innocent people, Liv decides to take a job at the King County morgue and eat the brains of the corpses she autopsies. Her secret is guessed by her boss, Dr. Ravi Chakrabarty, played by Rahul Kohli. Ravi soon becomes Liv's friend and confidant. Liv finds out that whenever she eats a dead person's brain, she temporarily inherits some of their personality traits and skills, and she experiences flashbacks of that person's life. Those visions are generally triggered by sights, events, or objects, or sounds, such as in repeated sentences. In the case of murder victims, the flashbacks offer clues about the killer. Liv decides to use this new ability to help police detective Clive Babineau, played by Malcolm Goodwin, solve crimes. Though she initially passes herself off as a psychic, Clive eventually learns the truth about her and zombies. Meanwhile, Ravi works to develop a cure for the zombie affliction. The final 2 seasons deal with the struggles and conflicts of living under martial law in Seattle as a means by which to create a safe haven for zombies. Liv becomes the leader of a human smuggling operation, bringing people who want to become zombies into Seattle. Our previous panel of undead groupies, namely Kristen, Jen S., and Jen K., is back, along with a brand new voice to both podcast and panel, after a quarantined hiatus of our own, to dissect and to ponder, for better or for worse, the 5th and final season of iZombie, and to look back at iZombie as a whole now that all is said and done. Before we do, as always, I'm going to take a moment to introduce our new panelist and to double-check the panel's temperature. After all, as we all know, sometimes a TV show can take turns for the better or the worse in our heads, or can continue its level of awesomeness or lack thereof, depending upon its story evolution. As always, it should be noted that all of our panelists have viewed all of iZombie and will, let's face it, discuss sensitive plot points. So for those of you who are not caught up on iZombie, listen at your own risk, as there may be major spoilers. Welcome back, panel, and welcome to the new panelist. How are you?
Hi, doing good. Hello, good.
Hi there.
Wow, you are just brimming with enthusiasm. Are you at least ready to talk about the final season of iZombie?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, good. I'm glad you are, because what I'm going to do is take your temperature along the standard CPU character question, which changes with each show we do. I'm going to revisit with the returning panelists first. I did tweak this character question somewhat, not a lot, but somewhat. It's not like these characters changed a whole lot, but they might have. So I'm going to read the character question, and then we'll introduce the new panelists. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay, this is a podcast. You do have to talk. I'm just saying. Okay. So how did you feel about iZombie after all was said and done, after you finished watching the 5th season? Would you say you love iZombie? If you had your choice, you would be a zombie. Or maybe you wouldn't, but you would do everything you could to make the best of your zombification, should you be scratched, including finding new and interesting ways to spice up and gourmet prep your brains. You also believe watching the show, and in turn Liv's consumption of and visions from different brains, as well as her role in helping zombies and humans to enter and exit Seattle, gives you meaning in your life. Plus, you persevered with the show because you really wanted to know more of Liv's backstory, which hadn't been completely spelled out before the final season, like Olivia or Liv Moore. Were you truly fascinated by every single episode, vision, discovery, and crime that crossed through your personal morgue of zombie obsession and or manifestation? You think the show is a more than decent, you're British, so that's a conservative opinion, addition to the annals of zombie fiction. Plus, you think it rubbed off on you in surprising ways, like Ravi Chakrabarti. You're a convert. In fact, you've come along so wholeheartedly, you've become zealously protective of this show and will defend even its most glaring flaws, of which there are admittedly several, like Major Lillywhite. Do you like the procedural or case of the week element? You like to solve the mysteries most, even if the zombie spin on the story grew on you. You also have weaknesses for the romance, the family feel of the ensemble, and the constant references to Dungeons and Dragons, like Detective Clive Babineau. Do you think the show is just cashing in on the popularity of zombie fiction, like other properties, such as The Walking Dead, but you have no problem taking part in the cashing in, like Blaine De Beers? Do you reluctantly enjoy this show, but can admit you do so because so many of your friends and loved ones watch it? You don't always get it, but you don't necessarily hate it either, and you were determined to keep trying until you made it to the end, like Peyton Charles. Or you don't like it much. You're a businessman, or woman in this case, looking to make his own mark in the world, and you find that the show uses too many tropes and not enough of its own originality to leave you feeling enthusiastic about it. All this zombie versus human fiction is so played out anyway, like Donald or Don E. Eberhard. Who would like to start?
I'm Kristen.
Hi, Kristen.
Hi. So last time I was Robbie. Not much has changed. I'm still Robbie. And I really enjoyed season 5, so I'm going to throw in a dash of Liv. I'm going to be right at the top of the scale.
All right. Welcome back, Kristen.
This is Jen K.
Hi, Jen K.
Hi. So I think last time I was Robbie with a dash of Liv, and I think I'm still the same.
That's true. Why are you still the same?
I thought they had a really good final season. I really liked how everything played out. Obviously, we're talking more about it later on in the podcast, but I thought it was a good final season for them.
I just like to give a little tease up front. Welcome back, Jen K.
Hi, this is Jen S.
Hi, Jen
And
S.
last time I was Liv and Robbie and some of Clive.
And why were you some of Clive, Jen?
Because of the Dungeons and Dragons.
That's right.
But I would say I'm still all of those. Yeah. But it's more with Clive. I don't know why I didn't see this before, but you like the procedural cases of the week. That's one of my favorite things in the show is the different cases. So yeah, definitely those 3. But I think I might even be a little bit of Major Lily White. I know you don't like me adding.
You're like half the scale now. What's the point?
I'm everybody. I'm the whole show. I like it all.
You're the world.
I'm the world. We are the world. Oh, okay, never mind.
Welcome back, Jen S.
Thank you.
New panelist. Hi.
Hi.
So, new panelist, what I'd like you to do is tell us your first name, just your first name. You don't have to give us your whole biography. And then tell us how you came to watch iZombie, what made you start watching, how'd you find out about it, what kept you watching, and then you get to pick a character or a few in some cases as well.
Awesome. So I'm Jana.
Hi, Jana.
And hi. Hi, Jana. I think the first time I watched iZombie was on a plane. Like one of those random shows that this seems like a good thing to watch while I'm in flight. I don't remember where I was going. And then I kind of forgot about it. I think I liked it, but I don't remember. I think I didn't know what network it was on or where it was from. So I didn't come back to it. And then I noticed, it was probably 6 months ago or so that I saw it on Netflix and was like, oh, it's the whole thing. So I totally did a binge through it in a couple weeks. It's terrible. And I liked, and it probably gives away what my answers are above, but the procedural element of it as well. I was a really big fan of at least old seasons of Bones. And I felt like it had some of those same qualities where they're solving a mystery and the characters were so super lovable and the relationships of them. And the fact that, at least at the beginning, there was so much one episode drama. You could come in and digest that and you didn't have to remember a lot from previous episodes. I watched it a lot at night when I was doing some work stuff or in the morning when I was getting ready or when I was cleaning around the house. And it was kind of something I could have on that I could be invested in, but didn't have to be 100% invested in to keep up with the plot. So yeah, those are my kind of what drew me to it and what kept me with it. I am going to go with a 3 for, I'm probably mostly the Clive again, because I really like the kind of whodunit. I was going back on IMDb and rereading those to kind of refresh my mind, and they kept calling it live in gang, solve a murder, or live in gang, solve a crime. And those are my favorite elements of it. So I definitely feel like that. But then I like Robbie a lot, so I want to be his. And I like Major a lot, so I want to be his too. I don't want to have to pick. So I'll go mostly Clive with the dash of the other boys. They're up there.
It's fair. You fit right in with this crowd.
Don't make me make a decision. There we go.
Well, welcome to the panel and welcome to Couch
Thank you.
Potatoes Unite, Jana.
Thank you. So glad to be here.
And of course, my name is Kylie. I moderate as well as participate on this panel. Sometimes, most of the time, that is in fact the case. Last time I was Liv. I had the love for season 4, I believe was our last episode. This time I'm going to stick with, well, I'm not sticking. I'm going to slide a little bit. I'm going to be Ravi and Major. I liked season 5 a lot. I don't know that I liked it as much as season 4. In fact, it took me actually a little bit of time to get back into it before I decided, yay, I really like the show again. And I didn't rewatch anything prior to the point. I just sat down and turned on season 5. I remembered where the starting point was, but I just didn't have the same sense of excitement after season 4 sustained into starting season 5. I kind of had to work back into it again. But we'll talk about that because that's what we're here to do today. So we're going to talk about season 5, and we're going to start with that. And of course, everybody knows how this works except Jana, so I'll just kind of talk about it for her case. And to remind everybody, we're going to talk about the season, what we liked, what we didn't like. You can be as general or as specific as you want, and the conversation will flow from there. And then when I think we've exhausted that, we'll start to look back on the show as a 5-season whole. So, season 5, what did you like, what didn't you like? Big question.
Kind of going out of order a little bit, but one of the things I really enjoyed was how Liv was smuggling humans into Seattle to become zombies. And like a lot of them had either terminal illnesses or they had family in Seattle, things like that. So that was a storyline that I was really surprised by, and I really enjoyed it.
As Renegade. She was Renegade.
Mm-hmm.
I kept wanting them to play the Styx song, but they never did. They played a whole bunch of other songs, but they didn't play that one. Just saying.
I don't know. See, and I feel a little bit opposite. Like, I was not on board with the Renegade persona. Like, I liked what she was doing, but I just felt, I was like, again, I was like kind of, my favorite part of it was the solving of the crime and like those little nuggets of show. And so when they got into that, it got a little bit much for me. I liked that they had a purpose, like, and they kind of, because I did feel like at that season, like they needed to find like, okay, what's our like big picture here and how do we find our out in the story as well. And so that contributed to that. So I felt like it served its purpose, but I just didn't find it as compelling as some of the other points throughout the season.
I agree with you, Kylie, in that I liked season 5, but it wasn't as good as season 4. There were some things that I liked and some things I didn't like. I didn't realize this till today because I couldn't remember if I had even watched the season finale. Like I couldn't remember how it ended. So I actually just re-got Netflix because I didn't have it. So he started that up again and I watched it because that's the only place you can watch it right now is on Netflix. But I really wanted to see because I couldn't remember how did this end. And of course I had, but that should tell you something isn't quite right if you can't remember the ending of it. And because I wasn't sure, whatever. I watched probably like 4 or 5 episodes today, through this morning and up to this afternoon of it throughout, not all in sequence, just the ones like, oh yeah, I remember that one. And there's some really good episodes in season 5, but then there's some really weird things, namely the season finale, the last show was that time jump was weird. Would technology really be that advanced 10 years later? Only 10 years?
You want to go right there?
It's not. I'm not buying it. Basically.
Well, let's hold on the series.
I know.
Finale.
I don't hold it. I like to jump. I do because that's the last thing on my brain about that was why. But yeah. Other than that, I mean, I like the cases solved. I thought there was some really good early on, and I think it was episode 3 or something. It was like dancing. They become, she pulls Ravi in and says, you're going to do this. He doesn't dance. I thought that was a really good episode. And those kinds of things.
Okay, can I jump in on that one? Because that was like one of my most favorites. Because, like in most of the time when they do like a dancing episode in shows, then they become like all of a sudden they're really good. And how did that happen? I love like they still weren't good. Like they were bad.
I kept expecting Ravi to, I guess they didn't really hit on his whole monthly cycle of zombiness. And so I kept expecting him to eat a brain so that he would at least get up to speed. And instead it ended up being his dirty dancing moment. So
yeah, it was definitely dirty dancing now, wasn't it? But later on in the season, he does become zombie again.
He does.
Which I like that.
Yeah.
I kind of like Robbie as a zombie.
I do too. I wish they'd use that device more. But again, he had that whole monthly thing. They didn't really hit on that so much in this last season. They made you forget about it. Maybe somebody got mad because it was too much of a thing. I don't know, but
Who would get mad at that?
I thought it was the best thing. I thought it was
great. when they do the car salesman, the Glengarry Glen Ross episode where they're like the always be selling or whatever. I laughed a lot in that one. It was just so funny because, again, he and Liv's relationship was like one of my most favorites in the show.
Mm-hmm.
And so have them like pitted against each other in that competition on the same brain was just so good.
I agree. I loved that. That's one of my favorite episodes was the car salesman episode. More Ravi on zombie brain thing.
Yes.
Absolutely.
We did get to see that. My favorite was when he was I don't know if it was like thief or mobster, when he was on the Russian brain.
Russian hacker brain.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, hacker, that's what it was, yeah.
That was actually in the last episode when they were doing their big caper to break into the CDC. All right. Jen S., you mentioned that there were things that were weird other than the time jump in the series finale. What else was weird to you?
It's probably pretty much just in the season finale. I can't think of right now. Other than the brain, I didn't like the brain tube thing.
Well, they've been eating brain tubes for a while.
Oh,
that was just nasty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What, you mean with the Alzheimer's patients? Is that what you just said?
That was bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole thing.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That was scary.
Why are you shuddering?
It's the whole idea of sucking brains through a tube and eating it that way. I much prefer the way Liv cooks it all nice and dishes. That was one of I think I even said that the last time about one of my favorite things about the show was how is Liv going to cook it this time? How's she going to eat the brains this time? I love that.
I know. I posted on Facebook that I wish they came out with like a cookbook based on
the show. They should have. Oh, that would have been the best thing.
Brains optional, or maybe brains could be something brain-like.
Or substitute for brains. Don't actually use brain.
Yeah. I mean, I've made a gelatin brain once. You can put gelatin in a lot of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying.
Isn't that what I think they used was some sort of like, I feel like I read somewhere what they used for the brains. Maybe you guys have talked about that, but I know the actress had said she wasn't a fan of whatever it was.
It had to have been flavorless and gooey gelatin, I'd have to imagine. It has a very nice consistency when you do make it into a brain because it jiggles in the whole 9 yards. So...
marketing opportunity by not doing a cookbook.
I know. They missed it there. They did.
We'll just have to write them or something.
And come out with the unofficial. There you go, Kylie. Exactly. There's your next project.
TM! Yeah. TM, if you're listening to no, DC owns the property. Can't do that. I really liked the drag queen episode. That was clearly their riff on Drag Race a little bit.
One of my favorite ones.
Yeah, and I liked the fact that I liked and I didn't like parts of it, but I liked the fact that the answer wasn't necessarily obvious and that Clive came in with basically a Hail Mary. They actually had this moment of pause and then confessed in one long teary-eyed monologue about how the business was going to go under and they just wanted to stop it, and I don't know. I thought that was a very good episode because Rose McIver channeling a drag queen was really fun. And that the telltale was a Cher wig, which was maybe a little stereotypical, but I get it. So, is there any what didn't you like about the the season?
I wasn't a big fan on how Blaine and Donnie got axed. I mean, I don't want to say that they got killed because they pretty much just got shoved down a well, but I think that could have been done a little differently.
How so?
I wanted to see more of a confrontation between Blaine and Liv, and there wasn't. Like, it was just like really Donnie pushed Blaine into the well, obviously, and then Liv came in, threw a rock at him, and Donnie fell in too. That was it.
It was very fast, wasn't it?
It was very fast.
Very quick resolution.
Yeah, I wish they would have had something different written, or maybe have like Liv actually talking with Blaine a little bit before it happened, just because pretty much throughout the series that's been a thing where it's been like Liv versus Blaine, and you didn't really see a whole lot of that in this final season. It was just like her focusing on other stuff, but I think that would have been a good like wraparound, I guess, for how their conflict would have ended.
Well, and that's one of the things that's why my rating slides a little bit this season, because in the previous seasons, and especially season 4, they kind of had a really strong villain in Blaine's father. And Blaine and Liv were having more of these direct confrontations. In this season, they took Blaine kind of out of the equation in a big way. he was basically just an accessory to all of the action around him, sort of needling things, and with Donnie, the falling out over the funds, and Donnie's quest for a soulmate, which I also want to talk about. That was an enjoyable part, but there wasn't really a strong villain. Instead, what they did this time was go for what felt like pretty strong allegory to current times with the Walden City, the martial law, and then you've got various hate groups / extremists vying against each other, and that actually almost took me out of it half the time I was looking at my cell phone, because I was like, this is like real life, only with zombies. I don't want to watch this. I want more of the, the witty Liv versus the even wittier Blaine, because let's face it, he is quite witty, and watch the gourmet prepping of the brains and all of that business. And there wasn't enough Dungeons and Dragons for my taste. That was one of the best jokes of the previous seasons.
I agree with that.
So it was very hard for me to stay focused, and it made for a lot of melodrama, whereas before it was more comedic. It felt more comedic.
I totally agree with that. When you sat kind of the wrap up of the plot points I was looking on, and I was like, oh yeah, that happened. Oh yeah, that happened. I think it was because I was like, well, I was on my phone while I was doing it or doing something else, just because I wasn't as invested in it, and I was determined to finish the season because I was committed, but I didn't feel as emotionally invested in it and remember things until, again, I read them or we're talking about them, like, oh yeah. And with the season finale too, like Jen was saying, I was like, oh, I forgot what happened until I read it again. And that doesn't say, I think, great things about what was, I think, a pretty strong show. And then I kind of a womp womp.
Yeah.
Out.
It was a little anticlimactic in the end, really.
I feel like they lost the kind of nuggets of goodness that the show was, and tried to do these other things and make it preachier and bigger and more meaningful. Just do your thing.
Right? Stick with what you know. Zombie brains, procedural.
You have your
crime.
formula. Please stay with it.
Right. So how did
one of my other favorite episode was the noir episode where she eats the private detective's brain. If you've listened to other podcasts, people may know that I love the noir kind of genre. So that was a real yay moment for me when they kind of dipped their toe into that a little bit. But
I did think of you, but for me that was actually, I like noir, but that was one of the more boring.
Yeah, I just thought it was fun.
Okay. I did like the way they shot it, though. It was really very classy, and
it was. Yeah, and that's what I liked most about it, was the cinematography and the overall mood of the episode.
And Blaine was the narrator instead of anybody else. So
it was a fun twist.
Yeah, that one was fun. Anything else you want to talk about as far as what you liked or what you didn't like? Season 5, really? What about Peyton? She's the mayor. She's not the mayor. She gets scratched. She gets shot. Somehow
she had a super cute haircut.
I liked her haircut. I agree.
But I feel like they didn't know what to do with her this season, because they gave her all these little bits and pieces, but it wasn't a fully fleshed out arc necessarily.
I did like her and Ravi, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're wonderful, but I just feel like they underutilized her this season, or they just didn't know what to do with her to get her to where they wanted her to end up. I felt, the one downside, I felt like her becoming a zombie was almost too little too late. I feel like that should have happened earlier on in the run of the show.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
She was a zombie for 5 minutes.
Yeah. Literally 5 minutes.
Seriously.
And I don't mind her as a zombie, but they should have just had it on season 2, 3, made her a zombie.
Or even longer in season 5.
Yeah, even at the beginning of season 5.
Wasn't it literally just the last episode?
Episode.
Yeah.
Finale.
Because it was one of Blaine's cronies that shot her, and Blaine scratched her so that she wouldn't die. But obviously, she still can't stand Blaine.
Yeah. I have a question about this. Here's one of my questions. You know me and continuity. So they're all worried about curing the kids who are terminally ill because they're afraid that if the kids who are terminally ill are cured, then they'll become terminally ill again. So how is Peyton cured and not dying from a gunshot wound after her cure? Or do they just not treat us to her getting better? You
I
didn't
don't think that's quite the same, because that was like a physical.
Where are you
I think
getting
that one's like a physical.
information?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe illness and trauma, physical trauma, heal differently in the zombie physiology. I don't
You're
know.
all reaching, and that means they didn't explain it.
Right.
But isn't that what happened to Major initially when he became a zombie? Wasn't it to save him from a severe injury? So,
Yeah.
I think it was.
And he was fine.
But he never took the cure.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
He took a couple different.
Yeah.
He took like a beta test of it, though.
He
Like
did,
back
but
in
he
season
was,
2 or 3.
Oh, yeah, he did.
He came back to being a human at one point, but
Was that before or after he got shot?
It was after the first time.
it was, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He did
So I
get
think
shot.
like, well, when you're
Shot a lot.
at least in their version of being zombie, like you don't obviously like. I think you heal a little bit from. Like, if you get some sort of traumatic injury like that, like, you'd probably still have a scar from being shot, but, like, you don't have any other, like, repercussions.
I
It's a good
think
question, Kylie.
I know, right? I'm asking the tough questions because this is the stuff I start thinking about. Like, okay, how is she cured? How did that happen? I don't know. Of course, Ravi is a doctor, so maybe things happened. I don't know. But Ravi is my favorite character. I just want to point that out once again for the third episode in a row. He's my favorite. I love him. He's the funniest. He's kind of cute. He's British. There's just a lot of cool stuff that he has chemistry with every character. So
Mm-hmm.
Him dancing with Clive.
Oh, yeah. Ravi and Major's relationship. Love
The
that.
bromance.
The bromance.
Mhm.
Yes, he did. He had chemistry with everybody.
he did.
Yeah. He did. He's
Major's
just the
cute
best.
too. He is the best. I mean, I don't think I have a real life Ravi friend, but I'd like to.
Yeah.
Just saying. Feel like I'm pulling some teeth, so let's go to the next question. Let's talk about Donnie, because he had more of a role this season. I felt like he was more in our faces a little bit.
I think he actually got promoted this season to the main cast. I think
He did.
or maybe it was season 4, but he was recurring before, and then season 5 he got bumped up to main.
He did. What did you think about his quest for independence from Blaine, as well as the matchmaker's prophecy that he would meet somebody with a particular tattoo that he then ended up meeting? I see.
I wanted happiness for Donnie. I felt like the whole time he got such the, not that he like was such a great person by any means, but he was Blaine's lackey and Blaine treated him so bad, and I wanted him to have, you knew the girl was going to die, but whatever her name was.
Darcy?
No, not Darcy. The one he was with. Was that her name?
The one that he gets married
It's
to?
It's
did they get
Darcy.
married? Yeah.
Well, they were going to when
Yeah.
Blaine
Like
killed
you
her.
knew, because she had Fralix, so you knew she was not
Yeah.
gonna live. But then when she got murdered, I felt really sad for him because I wanted to have like a little tiny snippet of happiness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
She was
it would
funny.
have. Yeah, it would have been nice to have, since Jen K was talking about a confrontation. If there was going to be a confrontation, Donnie should have been still a part of it.
Yeah.
They maybe just shouldn't have involved the well.
And did I feel like there was a little like comeuppance? What's that? Kermumpet?
Come up
Comeuppance.
or Kermit
Words are
Uppance, I
hard.
don't know.
The whole thing with the dad in the well the season before, and that's where Blaine ends up, and Blaine and Donnie end up there for eternity. So there's a little bit of like the karma with that. Probably both of their worst nightmares.
If anything, when they did that like season or the 10-year flash forward, I kind of wanted to see like more zombie version of Blaine and Donnie, like maybe do like not deadpan, but like, what's the word? Hanover or something, like at the very end, like they go over the well and then they like look at them, just see like that they're still stuck down there and seeing like more like zombie overt, I guess, for them.
See what they look like 10 years later.
Yeah.
They look like zombies, I bet.
Yeah.
Full Romero.
Yeah.
Zombies. So let's okay. Wow. Before we get to the series finale, because, we have to stretch this out a little bit, there's also the whole martial law / allegorical storyline. So even though you have Renegade, Krista, even though you have Renegade, that's kind of a side plot, and you have all of the normal elements, just less of them. The biggest part of the story was the chicks versus the zombie extremists, who the biggest twist of the season is led by the man who would be Liv's biological father, named Robert, who also happened to be the person who made the tainted utopium that caused the zombie process to start to begin with. What did you...
Full circle right there, wasn't
Right?
it?
I found that to be very interesting that he was the one that ended up making the whole thing, basically turning Liv into the zombie thing. So, yeah, I thought that was real interesting how they did that.
That was the moment when I actually did sit up and pay attention to the show. I was like, oh, what? That was a twist.
Yeah, that was a twist. I didn't see that coming at all.
Yeah. I don't know if I believed him, this guy, I don't know who he is, the guy that was playing
The actor.
Robert. Yeah. I wasn't sure what his motivation was where Liv was concerned, but I think it was sincere by the end, that he genuinely cared, that she cared, but it was
I think
hard.
it was, but in the end, yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question about him.
Okay.
Why did he didn't he like cut that dude's hair off and then wear it like the rest of the time? Because remember that like the first introduction, he's in the back of the car with a guy, and then he like turns all zombie and like cuts his like hair off. He scalps him. Then he wears it.
Didn't he have that metal plate around his
Yeah,
head?
he had a metal plate.
that's
Hiding
it.
the metal plate.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
But then
Yeah.
why does he have the metal plate? Did they ever
But,
explain
yeah,
that?
they never explained that. How did he have that? Why did he get that? Like, yeah, and I forgot
bothered
about
me
that.
that he wore the hair and that like no one like knew or like didn't notice that it wasn't like he just took some hair off some dude and put it on it, and everyone was like, okay, that looks normal.
I must have been doing something else. I honestly don't remember that.
I remember the metal plate, but I don't remember the reason why. So I'm going to see if I can.
I don't remember the reason why either.
I didn't remember him taking the hair. I do remember him going zombie with his drug buddy. Then we're looking for the perfect high, basically, from their concoction, but I didn't remember the scalping part.
I just felt like someone would have noticed that he was wearing someone else's hair.
Maybe they were just being nice and thought he was just like general bald and didn't want
they, like,
to
had a
comment.
toupee.
Yeah.
You gotta have something to cover that metal scalp. You know?
I thought there might have been a better solution, like a hat.
No way.
Isn't there a movie with a bald guy and a metal plate that goes around the base of his head? I don't know why I'm thinking of this and not thinking of it at the same time, but it reminded me of that. I will have to think about it, and I'll think about it I'll come up with it when we're not recording. Yeah, I have no answer to the metal plate. We'll see what Kristen comes up with.
I know, Kristen.
I'm trying to find something, but yeah, I really don't remember. I feel like they wouldn't put it in there without an explanation. Whether it's like, did he have a surgery or like a brain tumor removal of some sort? There's a reason that they had it in there, but
I feel like I remember them like briefly touching on it, but I have no idea what that was.
All I remember is that he was a junkie. And I thought it was just mom being mean, but it turns out he was, in fact, a junkie.
Yeah.
I don't know how the metal plate relates.
I think he might have been the first zombie, now that I think about it, after mixing the Utopium and then Max Rager.
Uh-huh.
So maybe someone might have been like experimenting on him and just gave that to him afterwards.
I would hope they would have said that.
He definitely was the first zombie.
Yeah.
They did one of those little flashbacks for that I remember. Because again, I was like, oh, wow, crazy.
Yeah, that was the best part of the season for me, actually, was that reveal, just because it caught me by surprise. I was not expecting this random dude to A, be dead, and B, be the first zombie. How's your investigation going?
Still trying to find. There's nothing really good.
iZombie metal plate Y. Is that what you put in Google?
No, I wish. I put Liv's dad iZombie to try to find it, but I'll try that one though.
If any of it works, let us know. I'm betting you're not going to find it. Because I don't think they put it in there, which makes me upset a little bit, actually, because that's the second thing I have a question about.
Well, that's my thing with season 5 is like they had these like things and then never like did things with them. It was like, oh, we'll give you like, we'll try this and let's try this and not really go anywhere with it.
Yeah, I felt like they did a much better job in previous seasons whenever they planted those seeds. And it was almost like the big story that they were trying to tell with the zombie versus human race allegory was the one that they focused on more than some of the other stuff that was more interesting to us having followed these characters for so many seasons.
I think I may have found it.
Okay, lay it on us.
I'm not going to say that this is 100% accurate because it's from a Reddit page.
Oh.
But somebody
That's
asked, like, what was the deal with his head? Like, I can't even remember if it was explained, like, why it was metal. What's the deal? So somebody said that when Ravi is trying to find Beanpole Bob, the guy that they're interviewing mentioned at one point that Bob was killed, but when they went back for the body, it was gone. So this person took it to mean that Bob survived the blow to the back of the head, but now, because he was a zombie, he needed a metal plate to replace that missing section.
I feel like that rings a bell a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
I don't see any reason to poke a hole in that.
I don't know. That's the best I can come up with right now.
I'll buy it. It's the best, best.
I was going to say, it's the best that we've gotten so far.
Right.
But the example goes to show the flaws in season 5. Like reading through the plot points, there was when they remember they were digging up the bodies at one point they were trying to find and dig up because they had the original recipe or something. There was too many things that they tried to do.
Yeah, which
I don't remember.
Yeah, and again, I just remember sitting down and starting to watch the season, which I did recently. I waited to watch season 5, as I often do before we record, and I didn't get into it right away. And then they kept on adding these different details and plot threads that I was like, why are you doing this right now? And I really, since I asked the question, I'll answer it. I really did not love the allegory storyline at all. I did not like Dolly as the chick's
captain. Yeah, I didn't like that either.
Serving the fish. Mm-mm. I mean, they were definitely going for something on the nose there, and it felt a little too on the nose.
Yeah.
I just wanted to punch her throughout the entire season.
She was really annoying.
I mean, she was good at playing a terrible character, but
she did her job.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
But I knew her. It took me a while to put the 2 and 2 together, but I was like, I've seen her before. I don't know why, but automatically I can't stand her. But then I remembered she had recurring role on Superstore for NBC as one of the regional managers or something like that. And she was a terrible character in that too. So I was like, so that's why she has a niche for playing terrible people.
She's got a type. All right. Yeah, she did a great job. It's no disrespect to her. It's just the storyline itself. It felt too much. It wasn't enough escape. A zombie TV show should be more escapist than what that was. That's what I want to say.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree.
I think maybe if they tied that in if maybe they did that first for season 4 and then did the cult thing or switched it around or maybe tied them in together somewhere instead of separating them by season, I think it would have been a bit more effective seeing 2 extremist groups at the same time, at least that the one was in Fillmore Graves where they're trying to stage the coup.
Yeah.
Well, I think, who was it, Kylie? Did you mention earlier, the other seasons had a distinct villain and a couple times it was Blaine. Okay. And in this one, racking my brain, there was Dolly, Blaine's dad came back, he was a villain, Liv's dad was a villain, all the Fillmore Graves uppers. And so trying to I get maybe that they're doing that to show there's all these people against them, but at the same time it pulls the focus.
Hi, Todd.
He did not watch the show. He was like, what weird show are you watching right now? I'm like, it's my zombie show.
That should be your screen grab, Kylie.
I know, right?
He would get a kick out of that.
I know. We should have been live streaming this if I didn't know that was going to happen.
Well, you did say you were recording, so...
I'm recording, but it's not on Facebook right now. It's just private so that I can later capture a picture. So.
Oh. Well, do it with him going in the background like this.
I will try. Special guest star.
Yeah, that's the closing panel picture that you always take, so...
Lord. Well, so I always say when a panel is very quiet and I'm doing more talking, it's because everybody agrees. So let's talk about the series finale, since that's where you kind of wanted to go straight before. So
Sorry.
it's okay. In the finale, they're breaking into the CDC. They're trying to get the zombie cure. Peyton is kidnapped by Blaine along with the orphan zombie kids from Renegade's Refuge. Takes her to this weird mansion of his. She gets shot. He scratches her. And then, of course, Donnie finds out that Blaine killed Darcy in retaliation for Donnie cutting him out of the brain business, the smuggling brains business. All of this has happened, and then they do derive a cure, and there's a 10-year time jump to this future where Peyton is cured and Ravi is cured, and they have gotten married and moved to Atlanta. And Malcolm and Dale have moved to San Francisco and for some reason have custody of the kid that he's not the father of with Michelle, but also is taking care of his and Dale's kid or kids. And then Liv and Major are together and taking care of the zombie orphans on Zombie Island, which was Major's dream to try to save Seattle. They actually went forward with it, and it becomes a zombie haven for anybody who did not take the cure. And that is where the series ends. So talk about the series finale specifically. What did you like or not like about that?
That time jump was not believable. First thing. No, I can't buy it.
Why not?
Who would have thought 1 year ago that we would all be having meetings like this? So maybe.
Yeah, but it was like high tech. Like,
and this is high tech right here.
Yeah.
Look, fiction has to be better than us, Jen. Okay.
I don't know. I feel like, too, that time jump, maybe if they had spread it out a little bit over the last 2 episodes, I don't know. It just seemed like the last 5 minutes of this is how it ends. You know, like that, it ended too abruptly, I feel like, enough to accept that the show is done. I mean, I feel like, well, what's going to happen on Zombie Island? Like, what's going on over there? Like, I just feel like it didn't tie up anything. And like, I'm actually kind of surprised that Liv and Major didn't take the cure. I mean, I guess because they wanted to take care of the orphan kids, but do they have to be zombies to take care of them? Why couldn't they do that as a human? If those zombie kids, they already look up to them and trust, they're not going to turn on them and eat them if they're afraid of that. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like Liv definitely would have been one that would have chosen to take in the cure to become human again.
Well, that's always been the theme of the series, is that, like, she's trying to become human, but then, like, she sees other people that need to be human more than she does, whether if it's for medical or life or death reasons, or in the case for, like, Clive and Dale, where they really wanted to, like, physically have a kid, not just, like, adopt or anything like that, and so she gave it her cure, or her chance to get the cure, or gave it to Dale so that they could have a family the, like, way, I don't want to say normal way because it's different for each family, but it's like the way where it's like the wife gets pregnant, they have the kids, da-da-da-da.
Did they know before they started shooting season 5 that was going to be the last one, or was that, okay?
Yeah, they did.
So they knew in advance, and yet they still made that last-minute pivot for the 10-year jump instead of setting it up a little bit more. Interesting.
Yeah, I agree with Jen and Jen. I did not love that epilogue that they gave us. I didn't understand why, if the cure was given and Seattle was back to some sort of zombie human coexistent normal, that this group, which had been together and supportive of each other, decided that it was best for them to move apart, number one. And number two, they didn't explain really why Liv and Major decided to stay zombies.
But wasn't there something with, like, Liv got blown up?
Yeah.
And I thought Michelle was there too, because you asked where was Michelle, which I don't understand how her baby survived, because I thought she was there when they got blown up too.
Yeah.
Because didn't they, like, say at the end, oh, Renegade's gone? Yeah. Like, Liv was in hiding. Again, why she couldn't do that as a human, I don't really know either, but she was not supposed to be alive anymore.
Yeah. Agreed.
Why? Again, I don't know if they fleshed that out totally.
No.
Wasn't Zombie Island something that was hidden too? Like it's kind of a conspiracy theory, even though it's where Liv and Major and all the kids are. I think it was wasn't their choice to try to keep it hidden or private to protect those who chose not to take the cure.
I think ultimately in the end, I mean, originally Major had proposed it to the Joint Chiefs of Staff as an alternative to nuking Seattle and containing the zombie problem, but I don't think that the final zombie island was something that was a widely known thing.
Yeah.
No.
I think, that makes sense then as to why that they didn't take the cure so they can stay and keep it safe. Yeah, but then, because doesn't Robbie become the director of the CDC?
Yeah.
He moves with him to Atlanta, so that's why they leave. And then, but it's also kind of part of it. Words are very hard right now. But also part of it seems like they
quarantine brain.
But part of the reason it seems like they all separated and moved apart was to help keep Liv and Major safe. So that way they wouldn't be seen with them or anything like that to protect the population.
Well, even with Peyton too, like she did not last long as a mayor, and probably after everything that happened with her being in the public spotlight for so long, like she wanted to go back to the private sector and probably felt like she had a better chance of doing it outside of Seattle.
That's very logical. I just wish they had. I agree with Jen S. Maybe they should have spread the events of the series finale out over 2 episodes, because it felt all very sandwiched and sudden and abrupt. And then, they did do this epilogue, and it felt like they could have padded a little between present day goings-on and the 10 years later. I'm not bothered by the technology. I thought that was a nice touch, Jen. We don't know what year
Just
20...
don't believe it.
We don't know what the year 2029 is going to be like.
I still don't think we're going to be that more...
Well, you could also yell at Back to the Future Part 2 then.
They set up some wrong
that was made in the 80s.
right there.
What did you say, Jana?
I said they set up some bad expectations there. We're supposed to have hoverboards and flying cars right now.
But a lot of that stuff has come true. Not the even the hoverboard, they had a prototype for it. It doesn't go anywhere, but it hovers.
I have no hoverboard. I don't know if I want a hoverboard, but I don't have one.
You want a widely accepted Mattel-produced hoverboard?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or, I would totally go for a flying car.
Sure.
That I'd go for.
Okay, granted, we don't have flying cars yet, but a projected screen in a virtual reality web conference doesn't seem totally out of the realm of possibility.
Oh, I agree with that.
Also, now you believe it?
I'm on board with the technology, because we're right here. I think we are one hop, skip, and a jump away from some VR stuff. I like how they finished it? No.
Excellent pivot back, Jana. Why didn't you like how they finished it?
Are you asking me?
I'm asking Jana, because you just said that. I have a question to follow up for you in a second.
No, I felt like it was too much. It was too much stuff that they tried to then wrap up in like a cute little epilogue that didn't fit. And I was fine with where the characters ended up. I didn't like how they showed us how they got there. So I wanted more. I felt like the end of wherever Liv was in the lab and it blew up, like that could have been the end of an episode, and then do a full rundown of stuff in a final ep. But because remembering that they were at the mansion in the season finale, they did all this stuff where they were doing the benefit. Wasn't that in the season finale too? Where they're dressed up, her and Clive, and they're dancing and trying to get that stuff from the lady.
Because the whole finale was an Ocean's 11 homage. So they're eating different brains of different groups in a crime syndicate, I guess.
And and didn't Blaine's dad? They had the. Did that happen in that one where he died on the horse and stuff?
That was,
was that the episode before?
That was before.
That was in the 4th season, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was season 4.
Yeah,
was that season 4?
I think that was in season 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
I watched them back to back to back, so sometimes the seasons become a little muddled.
Understand.
I feel like I would have been more accepting of the season finale if they had spread it over the last 2 episodes instead of putting all in that last episode. That was a lot of stuff that happened. I feel like if they had put it in the last couple of episodes, and they could have maybe told how they got there, or showed a little bit more of how they got to the end. I think that was probably one of my major hangups. Besides the technology, maybe I would have been more accepting of the technology if they would have showed a little bit of how they got there. You know,
really haven't convinced you. I thought Jana's argument was very well made.
I'm getting more convinced. The more I'm thinking about it. No, I definitely feel like if they had shown a little bit more of how they evolved to where they got, it would probably be, and they don't have to show that much, just a little bit, I don't know, over the last 2 or 3 episodes.
No, yeah, I agree. I mean, I think you're both saying what I basically said, but better.
I don't know about that part of it.
Well, I think so. I think they just needed a little bit more. You need to have more denouement, I guess, really. You hit this thing where they've made the cure, everything seems hunky-dory, and then they decide to show you this 10 years later, and it just feels a little too much like Whiplash. Everybody's nodding.
Yep. Yes, agreed.
Yeah, it's almost like they got canceled all of a sudden. Like they ended so abruptly that, but they didn't. They knew at the beginning that this was the last season. You think they would have, I don't know,
planned better? I feel like they didn't have a plan.
Yeah.
They did probably because that was their job, but I don't think they did a good job.
I don't either.
I almost get the sense that they were also trying to top themselves with season 4 and got a little bit too big for their britches in that attempt. Just because season 4 was so well done, because that was the season of Blaine's dad, and I thought that was a very good season.
I think season 4, they were under the hunch that they wouldn't get renewed, so they were trying to make it good, and then they got the announcement that season 5 is going to be your last season, so they were like, well, we want to make this good, but we kind of hit a wall where maybe creatively we got done what we wanted to.
Yeah, or they blew everything they had, basically, and had to come up with something.
People need to take a page out of The Good Place, I think, from now on when doing
no
shows.
Spoilers. That one's coming up
Okay,
first.
all right. I won't say anything.
That's so good.
Have your story, know what you want to say, and commit to that. Just because you're successful doesn't mean you should keep going.
Quality better than quantity.
Thank you.
They did make a Good Place reference, though, for the season finale, or the series finale.
They did.
Because
with the Kristen Bell thing on the plane. That's right.
Yeah,
I forgot about that. I just watched that today. Yeah, they did. Yeah.
That was funny.
That was delightful. So Michelle was in San Francisco, though, with them?
No, Michelle died in the blow-up.
Yeah, she died in the blast.
Was her baby already born? It was already born.
Yes.
When she died in the blast. That they thought Liv died into, but Liv didn't die.
Was the baby?
I think so.
born?
Or maybe they did an emergency surgery to see if they could save the baby. Because I don't think that wasn't touched upon. We just know that Michelle died somehow in the blast, and her kid made it, and some distant relative is trying to collect money or custody for the kid, even though they could have had that chance 10 years ago or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought I didn't make that up, that he has the kid. I forgot that she had showed up just before the blast. It was such a split-second thing.
Yeah.
Or was the kid born before that, and that's how they knew that it wasn't Clive's? Or did they find out that it wasn't Clive's before?
That's what I was going to ask. Are we sure that is his kid?
We are sure that the kid is not his because when she gets hurt, she goes to the hospital and he shows up to help take care of her, and she finally says to him, "You're not the father, but I wish you were the father."
That's right.
That was sad.
That's right.
Felt sad for her.
Yeah. Confession, I like her better than Dale.
Really? I liked Dale.
Okay. Although
when I found out that Dale got the bird flu /zombie stuff, I was super sad. And when they looked at each other and knew she was going to be a zombie, they were so sad.
I mean, it's not that I didn't like her. I just liked Michelle a little more. Well, let's take a moment now to look back at iZombie. Before we do that, though, I want to go through our predictions from the list. So, Janet, you can kind of sit and...
I had none.
I know, right?
Should I go get more wine?
Wine. All things are welcome. All beverages and libations. Jen, you wanted to see Liv's family again, and we got a one-off episode where Mom shows up to basically deride Liv for a little bit, cajole her into taking Evan through smuggling him out of Seattle to get help, and the confession about her biological dad. What did you think? Since that was your prediction and hope, What did you think of that particular moment?
I mean, she hadn't talked with her family for a couple of years, so it might have felt a little rush in general for season 5, but again, she hasn't talked with them for a while, so you can't really say either way. But I'm glad they got Liv and them got just like general closure. Whether or not they're talking again post 2019 or Battle of Seattle, we don't know, but at least like I'm glad we got to see them again.
You were satisfied with that appearance?
I think it could have been, I think just like in season 5 for some stuff, it could have been written differently, but for what we got, I'm content with it.
Kristen predicted that zombieism would be eradicated, or that humans and zombies would learn to live in harmony. I hoped that it would be eradicated, and it was. They had a cure, but for Zombie Island. How did you feel about this conclusion? Kristen can start.
I mean, it seemed like there was nothing. How else could it have ended? You know, the whole point was you introduce this zombie virus through this tainted drug, essentially. The whole point is going to be trying to find a cure. They've spent seasons trying to find a cure. Robbie has done multiple experiments with lab rats, literally, in the morgue, trying to find a cure. So
I miss the rats.
Yeah, rats.
Well, they were cute on the show.
There isn't any other way. Yeah. There's no other way. And I do like that they ended up having to go to the CDC, you know, because that ties in with his future. It kind of, you know, brought everything for him full circles. That's what he wanted to do, was go work for the CDC. So I felt like it wrapped it up really well. They, you know, they opened the story with the virus and then they closed it with giving us the cure, more or less.
I agree. I mean, I think of all the endings, that one had to be there. And I think they did well with that part, at least getting to it. I don't know how I feel about the Ocean's 11 capering, except for the fact that I enjoyed Liv and Ravi again.
It was fun.
Yeah, Dooley on brains. Also, big props to Raul Coley for a remarkable Russian accent. I was like, that guy sounds legitimate. And I want him to play a Russian hacker now all the time. Just how I feel. And Kristen, you also predicted that if a cure did come up, there would be zombies who resisted, but really the resistance we saw was in Enzo, the French captain of Fillmore Graves. What did you think about that? Did that disappoint you? Were you okay with it, or were you hoping for like a massive battle?
No, I wasn't necessarily hoping for a massive battle. I think it was, I mean, I hate Enzo. I was not sad to see him go the way that he did. I mean, there were some that chose not to take it, so I don't know if that's really what I was thinking or not as far as resisting, but yeah, it was fine.
I don't like Enzo either. Any Enzo fans?
I know I'm sitting back, but I liked his cape jacket. Say that.
Jana's noting all the fashion points in the characters. I think they were going for, I think they think all French types wear capes. That's where I was going with it.
Are they wrong? I mean, I don't know many French people, so.
I know. Can't say. If you're from France and you're listening to the podcast, tweet at us at CPU Podcast. Let us know about your capes. Thanks.
Do you have a cape too?
I would like more capes in my wardrobe, I think.
Capes are vastly underrated, but his was more of a cloak. Because it
was a cloak with like arms.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. Enzo, was he really French? Does anybody know? Was he actually French, or did they just decide to make this character French and that guy was putting on an accent?
I'd probably think the latter.
Yeah, I don't know.
I always wondered about that, and I was wondering, why is this random French dude in Seattle? Because I don't think they ever gave him a backstory. And it would have been interesting if they did, because he just seems so random. Personal opinion. Jen K, you predicted that Seattle would not be blown up. It wasn't. They considered it, but it was voted down. Are you happy? Starbucks Liz.
I am. So I was looking at the points that you sent us about the government officials that got scratched, essentially in the blackmail. I kind of wish that they touched more about that, because it seemed like it was kind of one and done. Like, I don't remember how they really resolved that afterwards. So I would have liked to see more, I guess, potential more zombie outbreaks outside of Seattle to see just how they would have reacted to it.
Jen S., you predicted that Liv and Major would be cured and resume their relationship. You just wanted everybody to be together and have a bunch of children.
I did.
Are you happy with the end of the romances?
No. I'm okay with it, I guess. I wanted them to be cured, but at least they're together, right?
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
Right. They're still happy.
Forever.
So I'm somewhat okay with that, just as long as they're together. They get to live forever, right?
Yeah, well, they told Peyton and Robbie, like, hey, it's a great place to retire. Like, come and get scratched and live forever as a zombie with us. So you don't age. That was another benefit of being a zombie. They don't age.
As long as they get their brains, I guess.
Yep.
I like that they were, I mean, yeah. You have to respect their choice, Jen S. It was their choice.
I do respect it. I'm okay with it.
Okay.
It's better than them not being together, so I would have been really mad.
It's true. Jen K thought the cult storyline might continue. It didn't. Kristen.
I still would have liked to see that with the Dead Enders. If they would have done more clashing with that.
Agreed. Kristen and I were talking about zombieism getting bigger than Seattle. That certainly started that way.
Yep.
Didn't get very far, but did come with the biggest twist of the season. I don't know if I have any other comment on that.
Nope, not either.
Yeah, I agree with Jen K that the infiltration piece of it would have been more interesting to develop, especially if it got as far as the federal government and they had to circle back around. That would have been interesting. Since they were going for such a strong allegory, they might as well have gone all the way. So we all hoped for the cure, and they all came together. Jen K wanted to see more Ravi on more brains, and your wish was granted there. I could have used more. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
And then we talked about the series finale. So now what I want you to do, first of all, compare this season to past seasons. Did you like it more or less or about the same?
I liked it less than season 4. I think season 4 is probably my absolute favorite season.
Agreed.
For me, it's season 4 and season 1 are my favorites.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
season 1.
Yeah, for me, season 1 is definitely my favorite just because it sets up this whole show and the whole world. But kind of averaging out the seasons, this one's kind of right in the middle.
You can answer this one, Jana. We're back.
All right. Yeah, we're back. Less than the other seasons because of all the reasons we've talked about. But it capped it off, so I have good feelings about it still. I liked that all the Pietes ended up together. That Peyton and Ravi and Dale and Clive and Liv and Major, I always wanted them all to be together, so I had that happy ending. So yay.
Fair enough. So how would you grade iZombie or rank it? You can rank it according to the star business. So basically 5 stars being the greatest show ever, holy smokes. You would recommend iZombie to all your family, friends, neighbors, and pets once removed. Or down to 1 star, pass on this one, guys. It's a snoozer, it's poor, it's not good, there's way too many TV shows to watch. 1 star, and then some stuff in the middle. How would you rate iZombie now? And you can letter grade, star grade, whatever you want to do. How would you rate it now? The show having ended.
I would probably rate it between a 3.5 and a 4.
So a 3 3/4.
I didn't know how far we were allowed to go with our fractions. I usually try to stick it to halves and wholes.
It's only in the first episode where I average it out, so you're fine.
I'll give it a 3.75 overall. It's really imaginative. It's really creative. It's not my absolute top, everyone needs to watch the show because that belongs to The Good Place, which we talk about later on the podcast on another episode. But this one is it's up there. It's almost a 4. It does take a little bit of a dip at certain points where I think they could have really benefited from long-term planning of what is the overall story that kind of Jana had talked about earlier, where you have a set of episodes or a set story you want to tell. I think that really could have pushed it up there, but 3.75, I'm sticking to it.
I would rate it a 4. Most of what Kristen said kind of echoes for me. I really liked it. I kind of want to introduce it to my boyfriend to rewatch for me and then him watch through for the first time, just because we've been doing that while we've been in quarantine, is finding shows where like one of us knows about, the other one doesn't, and then we can rewatch it together. So I think he might enjoy it just because he is kind of a big comic book fan. He likes DC. Granted, it's not like superhero DC, but I think he would still appreciate it.
I'd say solid 3.5. You know, I thought it was really, it was creative and it filled kind of what it needed to be. You know, in the end there it tried to get a little bit heady, but it was quirky and witty, and the characters were really likable. There was really good banter, really good scripts, and I would 100% watch it again. But I I liked that I didn't have to always be 100% invested in every single episode in order to like keep up with what was going on. That's a plus.
I would probably give it about a 4. It's up there in my shows that I like. The one thing that I liked overall about the whole thing was the whole concept of how they showed the zombies. I was just watching The Walking Dead when I started this, so it was so different than that in your typical zombieism. So when it was like showing this different look at them, I was like, ooh, this is like a really creative, interesting way of looking at how zombieism could be, So that's probably what puts it higher on my rating scale, was that fresh take on it that nobody's done, basically. So yeah, I would give it a 4. It was good. It's up there.
I would second just about everything you said, Jen, except for the part about watching The Walking Dead at the time. I was not doing that. I would also give it a 4. In the star scale, what that usually means is it seems intriguing, but I see possible pitfalls in the premise. I think that all of that came true. It's a very fresh concept. There really isn't anything like it on TV. As far as comic book adaptations, those are everywhere right now, and it's not like any of them. Vertigo is sort of the underground alternative DC comic stories, so it was fun that they actually adapted one of those. That doesn't happen very often. And it just had a really unique blend of comedy and drama, and yeah, you could choose to pay attention or choose to kind of zone out to something else and still be able to appreciate and enjoy it. But when it did try to go for something a little bit more lofty, it lost sight of what it originally was, and that is the pitfall. That's what happened. They needed to stick with what made the show original and fresh to start, and I think it really would have had a strong finish. But I think 4 or even 3.5, 3.75 are all really good ratings, generally speaking, for a show. So that's at least good. So we already talked about favorite seasons. And we talked about the series finale and kind of touched on how we felt uncomfortable, more or less, with the epilogue. But would you say that the series finale is a proper send-off for the characters? Why or why not?
It wrapped them up. It didn't leave any big question marks for, besides maybe what are Don E and Blaine up to in the well. It didn't leave any where is so-and-so, where is so-and-so, and they all got an ending, even if it was a quick ending, and not as invested into as maybe what we would have liked. They all wrapped it up in a nice little bow.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I feel like it gave us an ending for everybody, more or less. And that's what I kind of appreciated the most about it, even with kind of the weird time jump. But it was really nice to see, here's their ending. Here's where they go from here.
The Gens agree?
Yeah. Although, are they still in the well? 10 years later.
Who would get them out?
That's probably the reason why I wanted to see what happened with them 10 years later, if they're still stuck in the well, or if for some reason someone was dumb enough to let them out, or if they were ready to repent or whatever.
Well, you know what? If they ever decided to reboot a spin-off off this show, we could have one that Zombie Island meets Did They Get Out of the Well? And they're the scary zombies that come back through Seattle. I thought the finale did fine sending off the characters. I mean, I agree. What I like about a show is when it actually wraps it up. If it's going to leave you guessing, it has to leave you guessing in a convincing way that actually falls from the story they've been telling. And I think to the extent that it left us guessing, like with the well, that was perfectly fine for me. I didn't need to see, because I figure they're just all dumb and trying to eat each other down there, so I didn't need to really see them. And the rest of the characters did have an ending. Whether you liked the ending or not, that's a different question. So I think it at least wrapped it up, and I agree with that. Do you think iZombie would hold up with these are standard looking back questions. Do you think the show would hold up with the passage of time? Why or why not? Was it time for it to go? Would you have watched more seasons, or should it have ended sooner?
I think it was time. I think they kind of ran out of their creative juices a little bit. It was just, I think a season 6 would not have been as high quality as the rest of them. It would have dipped down.
I agree.
I agree with that.
I think it hit its sweet spot. A little decline, not too much decline. Yeah. Mostly silence means agreement. Okay. So, if iZombie was created by Rob Thomas and Diane Ruggiero Wright, they know each other because they collaborated on Veronica Mars. Rob Thomas's big creative credit before now was Veronica Mars. Would you watch anything else that this team creates if you follow that sort of thing? Because I already know what Kristen's going to say. Would you watch anything this team creates or anything that individually they create, either past, present, or future? Or did you follow them from Veronica Mars here?
I didn't realize this until I looked. I think I followed Rob Thomas from the reboot for 90210 back in like 2009. Which I didn't even realize, but I think there's like one or two characters from that iteration that had like small roles. So I didn't realize I followed that, but then I ended up watching, I never watched Veronica Mars before, but I started watching it on Hulu actually. And I think I'm through the first 2 seasons right now. So that's on my list, other than like catching up on other TV shows. I want to try and finish that up.
Did you get to Veronica Mars because of Rob Thomas, or just because of Veronica Mars?
I think just because of Veronica Mars, also Kristen Bell, but after seeing Rob Thomas's work from iZombie, and again, not even realizing 90210 until like I looked it up on Wikipedia like a couple days ago. That was kind of like one of those shows that I always wanted to watch. So it was like I needed time to watch it, and I found the time. Just for the record, I did not and will not watch the reboot of 90210 because to me that is sacrilege. Sacrilege.
I didn't even know, like, I know they did like a thing this last year. I didn't even know there was a reboot. So
there was one, I think, in like 2008, 2009 for the CW. And the main reason... Yeah, so I didn't realize that, like, I knew what it was. I didn't realize that it was like somewhat of a reboot or whatever, but like I think I started watching it because it was like the pilot episode was free on iTunes at the time. That's when like streaming was like seriously starting to become more popular, and one of the characters that I saw growing up from Degrassi was in there, so I was like, oh, maybe I'll just watch it because of her.
Wait, you didn't know that it was a reboot?
I mean, well, like, I didn't know anything about like the original 90210 in that sense.
So Jen is the youngest one on the panel. Number 1.
Yeah.
Number 2, Beverly Hills 90210 ended in what, 2001? 2002? Been on for 10 years.
It lasted that long? Wow.
Yeah, it was 10 years.
Old.
Fun fact, I watched Beverly Hills 90210 for as long as Dylan was on the show. And then Dylan left and I stopped watching it. And then he came back and I watched it again. So you can see the theme. R.I.P. Luke Perry.
Luke Perry.
I didn't mean to bum the whole thing down. But, so yeah, I will not watch, because that was a whole new cast. Now the thing that Jana is talking about is actually they did do a one and out. It was canceled. They did a one and out season where the actors in Beverly Hills 90210 were playing exaggerated versions of themselves, playing exaggerated versions of the 90210 characters. It was 6
Sounds
episodes.
very meta.
Yeah, it was very meta. And I think only hardcore fans would have gotten into it, and it was only 6 episodes, and they didn't commission another season. So, but Shannon Doherty came back.
That sounds like that's a good choice.
I'm morbidly curious, and I'm probably going to watch it at some point, but that has nothing to do with Rob Thomas.
With Rob Thomas and iZombie.
Right. I have not watched Veronica Mars. It's been on my list for forever because I hear about it. I have a lot of cult TV shows myself, and we tend to intermingle as cult TV followers, and people talk about being marshmallow still and how good that show is, and then they rebooted it, so it's always been on my list. I'm more motivated to watch it now that I know they both are involved in it, but I don't know if I'm any more inclined one way or the other. I think he's got some good ideas, so I would be, if somebody told me Rob Thomas created a show, I would probably be piqued enough to want to know what it's about. Kristen, I answered the question for you before you got up and left. I don't follow creators. I like shows that I'm just interested in, okay? Stop asking me this question like I don't want to answer it anymore.
It's only been like, I don't know, 50, 60 times I think I've answered that question.
I can't help you look back at so many shows.
No, yeah, it takes a lot for me just to watch a show. It's not just a creator, it's not just an actor, it's got to be an interesting concept. It's just got to be an interesting show. But I will say I have, since finishing iZombie, I did start Veronica Mars because I liked iZombie so much. It's, you know, I also like Kristen Bell, but knowing that Rob Thomas, that was his big like claim to fame, I did check it out.
Look what you just did. You have countered yourself.
I have countered myself because he's now a factor. I like his stuff.
Amazing.
And
it's like the question means something.
Yeah. We watched all of Party Down too. So, and that I didn't know that Rob Thomas created it until I just saw your question, but we watched Party Down and I really liked it. So
that's on the list. We've actually interviewed one of the actresses in Party Down, Sarah Habel, because she actually appears on Riverdale. And so we'll probably have to do a Party Down panel at one point. Hint, hint, double hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
That'd be fun.
Jen S., would you follow Rob Thomas? Or Jana, did you answer this question?
I'm like you. I've had Veronica Mars on the list to watch. I keep forgetting that I want to watch it. So now, thank you for reminding me. I have not seen that, but I would definitely, now especially finding out that it's by Rob Thomas as well. So yeah, I'm real interested in that.
Your
so,
next quarantine
I would watch
binge.
any show probably, if it appealed to me that they do. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't watched Veronica Mars. I don't know why.
Yeah, I feel like that would be up your alley.
I know, and I have such a girl crush on Kristen Bell, like everybody else. She's a national treasure.
Agreed.
So, so I need to get on it. I think it's on Hulu. I have Hulu, so I should. And I just finished Dead to Me on Netflix in like 2 days, so I don't have anything happening in my TV world right now. So maybe I need to Veronica Mars.
Hashtag next quarantine binge, and we've got 3 budding marshmallows amongst the panel. Tell me if you
Well, how many
talk
seasons
about
are there? Because I really can only like commit to
4.
Okay,
There's
perfect.
4.
4 seasons. All right, I can handle that.
That include the new rebooted season that just came out?
Yeah.
Too?
Yep.
Okay.
3 original, 1 reboot season.
And is there a movie too, or did I just imagine that?
There is
No,
a
I
movie.
think there is.
There is
Okay.
a movie.
Yeah.
Oh, 4 seasons and a movie. Got it.
Wow. I don't know why, but I always had this kind of like prejudice against CW shows, and I don't really have like a great reason for that because I've liked all the CW shows I've watched, like Supernatural and iZombie, and I think those are the ones I can think of right now. But I don't know why I had this like prejudice against them for a while.
I
Probably
understand.
they're known for more of like their teenage soapy
Is that what
dramas.
it is? Okay.
Yeah.
Was mine. Yeah.
I
Or it's like a
understand.
cat.
Oh, go
People
ahead.
who are 30 play 18-year-olds.
And I don't like that.
I understand and commiserate with that bias, but as it turns out, of all the networks other than Netflix, we cover their shows the most.
Yeah.
So-
Well, I think they come up with like interesting concepts and stuff that maybe other networks that are a little bit bigger shy away from a little bit.
Yeah.
And they have the whole Arrowverse, which we also cover.
Yeah.
That's a lot of
See, and that's one thing too, where like, what was it that I watched? The first season of that Sabrina show on Netflix, and they had like a lot of like callbacks to the Riverdale. I was like, oh, maybe I would like this Riverdale thing they keep talking about. So it's kind of on my long list of things to check out. I think would probably be in my wheelhouse.
Yes, I think it would be.
I
Would
have
you
all the, and now I just need like a couple months to watch shows.
next quarantine binge?
There you go.
Yes.
Would you follow any of the individual ensemble cast to any other projects, past, present, or future?
Yes.
Yep, I did.
Yeah.
You did?
I did.
You countered yourself again.
I did. I really did. I did. This show was like the one show that I did follow actors, two specific actors. I followed Rose McIver because I loved her as Tinkerbell in Once Upon a Time, and she left Once Upon a Time when it was actually really good, and started on this show. And I'm like, I want to see what she's up to. And then also David Anders, who plays Blaine, followed him from Once Upon a Time because he played Dr. Whale and Victor Frankenstein. But I have been obsessed with his work since he was on Alias almost 20 years ago, because that was like my big show that I watched constantly. I never missed an episode. I watched it live, every single episode that aired. And he was one of the main villains on that show for quite a while. So I loved his work on Alias, loved it on Once Upon a Time, and the fact that he was also on it with Rose McIver, I'm like, yep, I need to check this out.
So this is going to show my age again. I didn't realize this until I looked, because Rose McIver, for some reason, she always looked really familiar for me the first time I watched iZombie, and then I looked. Well, it turns out she was in a Disney Channel original movie back in like 2003, the Eddie's $1 Million Cook-Off. So I was like, oh, I liked her in that. I didn't realize that was the same person. So there was that. I knew David Anders from Heroes. Ali Mashaka I knew from, also aging myself again, Phil of the Future. So a lot of like older Disney stuff. So I was at least like putting names to faces from that. But otherwise, I just kind of heard good things about the show, and after like watching the show, I just want to see like what all their future projects are.
I think I would follow Raul Coley because I just love Robbie so much.
That too.
Yeah, and I would be, if somebody told me he was going to be in something, I don't know if he would be like a sole reason for me to watch it, but he would be like an extra special, extra credit bonus. Like, oh, he's in it.
Like I just saw him in something.
Supergirl. I think he was on Supergirl.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was.
It was just a one-off, though. He wasn't there to stay.
I knew it because I think I just watched it like recently, so that was fresh in my mind. Yeah, that's it. Because I was about to Google. I was like, that drove me nuts. Like, I've seen him on another show recently. Yeah, that's it.
And David Anders, yeah, for sure. Like, he's never in a main cast, but he's been in so many shows that I've actually watched in my life. Heroes and Alias and Once Upon a Time. So probably if he showed up, I'd watch it just because I've watched everything else he's been in. And he's always been
and he was in Vampire Diaries for like a hot second.
And the Vampire, I watched that
Who was
too.
he in that?
He was Elena's biological dad.
John.
Oh, he was. I forgot all about that.
And that's a real throwback.
That's really going back. Yeah. Wow.
So here's the $1 million question, because we at Couch Potatoes Unite feel a responsibility to the TV viewing public. Would you recommend iZombie to others? Why or why not?
I have already, and I would continue. I would just warn people of the season 5. But yeah, I would.
Yeah, I'd recommend it too. It's creative, it's different, especially if they're a comic book fan, or a comic book adaptation fan, or a zombie fan. It's a new take. So yeah, I'd recommend it.
Yeah, totally. I think I would also give it like the preface of this is what it is. Like, don't expect, because sometimes when you say like, oh, this is such a good show and I love this show so much, people think it's going to be a certain something, and whether that's like a super deep show or meaningful or heady or whatever, the show is really good at being what it is, and so appreciating it for that and recommending it to people who would also appreciate that type of show, because I don't think it's everybody's cup of tea. And yes, then also with then season 5 is, not bad.
I would, and I have. I actually just recommended it to a friend the other day who was like, I've run out of things to watch. What should I watch? Because that's the quarantine problem now. And I was like, well, you like really quirky, this is panelist Jeremy, for those who know him. I was like, you like really quirky stuff, and you should try this. He's like, well, I did try to watch that Once Upon a Time, but I couldn't get into it. I said, try harder. It actually gets really good. I said, I don't know about the last season. I don't know if you'll like that, but at least give it the old college try. And I think he is going to go back and watch it.
The first couple episodes, usually. Give it like 3 to get settled in.
I told him 6 for this one because it does take a minute to get the tone a little bit. But I think once you get what they're going for, then you can follow along with the ride and really enjoy it. But yeah, I also was talking to a family member, specifically my mother, about the fact that we were going to be talking about iZombie, and I specifically told her, you would not like this show, don't watch it. So it definitely has a set audience, I think. So is there anything else that you want to say? This is the question where I make sure everybody's got all their feels and thoughts out, because, it's your once and for all. Is there anything else you want to say about season 5 of iZombie, or anything about iZombie in general that we haven't already said?
Thank you for introducing us to Robbie. I can't wait to see what he's in next.
Yeah, if you get the time, or this is to people who make shows who do that. If you get time or money, can we have a spin-off of just Robbie, please? They did it with Better Call Saul, so I feel like there's, that they can do that, whoever they are.
Those are the same.
And if they're listening.
All right. Well, those are about the best notes I think we could possibly end a podcast on. So what I'd like to do is thank Jen S., Jana, Jen K., and Kristen for joining me again in some cases for the first time in another, to talk about iZombie. And because we've talked about iZombie, it's now time to roll the credits. Couch Potatoes Unite! Was produced by Back Pocket Productions, run by yours truly, the Chief Couch Potato, which is really another way of saying executively produced by me, Kylie Piette. My associate producers are Krista Pennington and Selene Rezmer. I edit this podcast, and our logo is by Rebecca Wallace. Our marketing graphic artist is Krista. Our theme song was written by Sarah Milbratz and sung by Sarah, Amy McDaniel, and Kelsey Rezmer. Kelsey played the keyboard, Ian McDonough played the bass, Christian Somerville played the guitar, and the whole kit and caboodle was engineered and produced by Kyle Aspinall and Christian. We hail from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Please, if you like what you hear, take the time to rate us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, or Google Play, or wherever you find your podcasts. Give us stars, give us comments, give us reviews. Let us know how we're doing. Send us a message. We might just read it on the podcast. Tell us what you like, what you don't like, what we should keep, what we should toss. You know how it goes. And if you have suggestions on shows we might consider, contact us at our website, couchpotatoesunite.wordpress.com, where we have a guest book, by email at couchpotatoesunitepodcast@gmail.com, or via our social media, Facebook, Twitter at CPU Podcast, and Instagram at Couch Potatoes Unite. Though, of course, we add new and old shows to chat about around the water cooler all the time. We always have several more new episodes coming down the pike. Just listen to our intros. And if you miss old episodes or want to know in general what we cover, just find us. We are everywhere and searchable wherever you look for things on the internet. You can search for us, or you can subscribe at our website, our channels, our social media accounts. Stay up on our new events and episodes. Until the next time, all available seasons of iZombie are available to stream on Netflix, who should reward loyal viewers like us for our consistent mention of their name. Netflix, I know you're listening. If you have nominations for shows we should cover on our podcast, contact us via social media or our email. You can volunteer to be a panelist too. In the meantime, and until next time, until next episode, new episodes are published every Wednesday. Keep listening, keep watching, stay tuned.